Alright, hello. My name is Jesus Martinez, and I'll be presenting the first half of Chapter 9 of Ramachandran's Phantoms in the Brain. Chapter 9 is titled God and the Limbic System. It goes over the basic structure, the limbic system, also known as the old brain, and how it and other parts of the temporal lobe are related to a specific malnormality of the brain that causes patients to hallucinate divine images and have extremely religious experiences. So, the chapter starts off posing the question, what if there was some sort of device that you could hook up to your brain to stimulate specific regions, and how this could be useful in determining specific functions of different areas in the brain. For example, how would stimulating a specific part of the motor cortex make the patient respond, and what that would do to them. So like stimulating maybe one part would cause the hand to close. Well, maybe with these capabilities it would be possible to stimulate a specific part of the brain and cause the person hooked up to the machine to experience some sort of divine or religious experience. That's sort of what I pictured here, and it turns out this might not be so far from the truth. So, temporal input. The temporal lobe receives input from lots of different parts of the brain. So, the main sensory parts of the brain, it receives information from vision, touch, smell, hearing, taste. And it's also important to note that it's connected directly to the old brain, the limbic system, which could be part of the reason that these experiences happen, because of a specific structure known as the amygdala, which is responsible for a lot of highly emotional and reactive behaviors that humans have. It's also connected to the hypothalamus, which is responsible for sending out information to other parts of the brain. So this sort of old brain structure could easily have a lot of influence over how one reacts to specific sensory input, and it could cause them to believe that small or maybe seemingly insignificant events could be highly salient. It's the center of emotion, and therefore it could cause these religious experiences simply by activating several parts of the old brain and making it seem like events are highly salient, even religious. So Ramachandran had a few hypotheses for this sort of topic. Hypothesis 1 is a little bit less scientific, but also he considered an important inclusion in his book, since it can't be argued but it also can't be proven, which is that God really does exist, and he sends divine visions down to people, and this is sort of what people report, is that they've been touched by God and they're having highly religious, highly salient visions. Hypothesis 2 is a little bit more scientific, and Ramachandran basically says that it's a boilover of emotions, and that is interpreted as mystical messages or religion. This is sort of what I was talking about with the amygdala and the hypothalamus, which is that there would be so much input in this overly connected, maybe lesion part of the brain, and that would cause sort of seizure-like responses, except more visual, more hallucinations, more religious. So the problem with this was that there is other disorders that could cause some sort of mania or visions, but they don't turn out being religious. So what makes these special? Well, the temporal lobe is sort of what is hinted at being an important contributing factor. It's not just the limbic system, but a combination of the limbic system and temporal lesioning that could cause these divine visions. Hypothesis 3 is sort of my favorite hypothesis, and it's also worth noting that Ramachandran didn't really think that hypothesis 2 was the correct one because of that relation to other neurological disorders that didn't cause the same effects. Hypothesis 3 says that it's a combination between the visual network, the sound network, and again the limbic system, specifically the amygdala, and a combination of connection between these three systems will result in highly salient everything. So small, seemingly insignificant events would be interpreted as highly salient and again highly religious because of that specific lesioning in the temporal lobe. Finally, to end it off, hypothesis 4 is a little bit more controversial, a little bit less scientific again, but still worth trying to prove, because it's also very possible that humans have just developed a specific part of the brain in order to be able to have religious thoughts. And these people who experience highly religious visions or hallucinations simply have some damage to the part of their brain that allows them to imagine such a thing as religion. So similar to like just Broca's area, Wernicke's area, central sulcus, well, why not God in the brain? You know, there could be specialized circuitry designed simply to be able to imagine religion that humans have evolved over time, and these patients are simply experiencing some sort of damage or misfiring in that God part of the brain. Anyway, that's about it for my section of this part of this book. Again, my name's Jesus Martinez. Thank you for your time.